Hello, dear students. This is Professor Dr. Zia Ahmed, and sending you not only my blessings but also a lecture on John Milton's first page of Paradise Lost, Book 1. This page has got many lines, maybe more than 20 lines. So we shall be dividing our lecture into 10 lines for each lecture, because this is a starter of this whole big, large epic poem. We need to divide it and read in small chunks so that we may be able to make a better understanding. So you must be excited to see that today we are starting with Paradise Lost, the world famous poetry book and world famous recognized as a classical authentic book that we are going to start with. So let me read. I hope you people have also opened your books. If not, do not fail to open it. Otherwise you cannot follow the sequence of lines and their meanings. So open your books, and if the books are not available, go online. This poem is everywhere available. Open the first page. So we are starting, hopefully you will follow, of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world. These 3 lines are, first of all, to be under our consideration. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world. It means that there's something happened in heavens where death was not present. Life, whatever was created, was supposed to be permanent. In the same way, as we listen from the biblical stories that angels are there and they don't die. But the human being, when he was created in heaven, Adam, he was also supposed not to die, but when he made a mistake, because God has told to Adam that he should not eat some specific fruit, because if fruit is eaten, definitely there will be the consequences of that. Adam, with the help of Eve, ate that fruit. They tasted that fruit. So as soon as they tasted the fruit, the mortality, the end of life, the limit of life that entered into Adam's life, into his wife's life, and both of these human beings were to be expelled from heaven. Why so? Because heaven is permanent and everything which is present in heaven is permanent. So if something is to die, it cannot stay there inside the heaven unless God makes it permanent. So in this way, we are told first of all in the start of the poem of the first disobedience. What was that first disobedience? That Adam was forbidden to eat a specific type of fruit, but he did so, and as a result, he committed a crime in heaven, and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste. Now this is something significant to be understood by the students, that the taste of that fruit is going to be mortal. It means if you don't eat that fruit, life can remain permanent. But if you eat that fruit, mortality, the end of life, the death, all these things would be included in your body. So when they ate the fruit, mortality entered into their body. Because of this situation, death was introduced because of this situation. No, this is allegorical, It is not possibly the real thing. We don't know what happened in heaven. We have only the information which is provided to us by God in His holy books. And from those books, we are understanding these things. So symbolically, we are being told that there was a tree and the fruit of that tree was forbidden by God. Adam should not eat it. Eve should not eat it. But both of these people, Adam and his wife Eve, they ate that fruit. And as a result, their immortality disappeared and mortality entered into their lives. And as a punishment, therefore, they were sent to this earth. And Milton says, as a result of this action of Adam and Eve, death was introduced into the world. It means if they had not done so, death would not come. And I think this is justified. This is essential. Because if the Adam and Eve are to stay here in this world, they cannot go back to heaven. We need to become immortalized by God to go back to heaven. As a mortal human being, we may not be able to go there. So that is why ultimately man has to go back to heaven, according to Milton, after receiving whatever the punishment is given to him in this world. And after that, he will go back and God will make him to live in heaven permanently as an immortal creature. Before that, they were also immortal, but right now man became mortal because of this disobedience. So it means that the whole story will revolve around this idea. What did Adam do? What did Eve do? and how these were then punished by God, and how Satan played a very big role in prolonging the stay of the Adams into this world and to make them as much unacceptable to God as possible. So this was the kind of situation which happened. And Milton adds one more word here by saying, and all our woe with loss of Eden, that Eden was lost to us. And Eden is definitely Jannat, as we call, or paradise, or heaven. All these words point out to some specific, beautiful, very comfortable, extremely graceful kind of space where human beings could live, but that was lost to them as they were shifted towards this world. So in that way, not only the loss happened, but permanently a sorrow entered into the life of Adam. And the same sorrow is still present in the life of every child of Adam and Eve. But he says, Milton not only, first of all, gives us this idea that loss has happened, but then he encourages us also by saying, till one greater man restore us. That there will be a man, according to Milton, according to the Christian philosophy. I'm not talking about any other religion. I'm talking about Christian philosophy because the poet is a Christian. So that is why we need to take the context of this Christianity. They say that one greater man would come and he will help the Adam and Eve to go back to heaven. And according to them, this one greater man is Christ. He will give his sacrifice, as Milton describes in the later part of this poem, in this page also, that he will give his sacrifice by shedding his blood, by giving sacrifice for the sake of humanity. And as a result, man, Adam and Eve, would be able to reach back to heaven. For example, restore us and regain the blissful seat, sing heavenly muse that on the secret top of Oreb. Now, before we start with the new subject, we need to go on to consider that it is Christ, according to Milton, whose sacrifice will result in the restoration of that seat which was lost to Adam and Eve. So that is the whole story. That life circle will take place. How long? We don't know. But according to the poet, this is the kind of thing going to happen, that first Adam and Eve were thrown in this world. They have to live for a specific time here, but during this time they will remain constantly sad because of the loss of Eden. Now they want to regain that seat of Eden, or a paradise. They want to go closer to God once again, but it will not be possible because a lot of things have to be done. Milton says one great hope is still present, that one man who was a great man, according to him, the Christ, the prophet of the Christian people, they say that he will give a sacrifice as he has given, according to them, and ultimately Adam and Eve will be restored back the seat. So this is the whole story, the whole circle around which the poem will go, and that is called also biblical story. And now we need to go ahead with the epic traditions, because after having introduced the subject matter, as I have talked to you people just now, the subject matter is that, it's a story, biblical story. And now the poet would proceed to follow the traditions of epic. As I said in my last lecture also, that the very first tradition is to seek the help of a muse. Here Milton becomes 100% worldly as well, religious as well. Because if we think in terms of the Greek people, the muse was not a heavenly god. They said it's heavenly, but actually, according to our philosophy of religion, that means Muslims, Christians, Jews, that is not going to be a religious kind of thing. It's a worldly. Religious kind of muse is only God. No, the help of God we seek everywhere. As dear student, you start anything and you say Bismillah. That it is the same thing that Milton, before starting the whole long, powerful poem, he invokes the help of that muse. And in fact, in his mind, is not the muse of the Greek people. It's just the tradition which he's following. It is the muse of Christian people, the Muslim people, that is God, that is Allah, whose help he's seeking. And now the next question would be, who is this person? And when he describes this thing, from there we exactly come to know who is the muse of Milton. Is it a Greek muse, or it is going to be, is it a Greek goddess, we may say, or it's going to be our God? So some of the indications would be given. For example, first of all, it is said about this muse that on the secret top of Orb or of Sinai didst inspire the shepherd who first started the chosen seed. Now from here the clear-cut indication comes that he says there was a mountain, Sinai, And on that mountain, one shepherd, Hazrat Moses, जिनको उर्दू में हम हज़रत मूसा कहते हैं, Hazrat Moses was there. He was standing on the Mount Sinai and he wanted to see and meet God. And therefore, God appeared before him in whatever the shape it was, whatever the thing it was. He inspired Moses to perform his mission as good as possible. So, shepherd here is Moses, Hazrat Musa. And who is this muse? This is the same God who came to Hazrat Moses and inspired the people who are called here as the chosen seed. I think just a passing reference that in the books of Jewish people, they also believe in God like us. There is written that these Jewish people are the chosen people of God. And therefore, Milton also used the same thing, the chosen seed. So in this way, we come clear, who is this muse of Milton? It's definitely God. But it's in following the tradition of the epic also. In the beginning, how the heaven and earth rose out of chaos. The story proceeds further, and Milton tells us what was told by this muse to Hazrat Moses, that how this whole universe was created. First of all, he says it was chaos. Now, students should understand what is chaos. It is unmanaged material, where there is nothing in a shape, in a final kind of thing. It appears to be constantly changing spaces, places with time, and therefore chaotic situation is there. Such a situation in which formlessness is present. This type of situation, according to Milton, was in the beginning when this earth, when this world was to be created. And God, what he did then, of the Zion hill, delight the more, and Silas brook that flowed early, fast by the oracle of God. One more reference he gives so that we may be able to fix our point of view that muse of Milton is not going to be a Greek goddess, it is going to be somebody who is God, who is Allah, who is for Muslims Allah, God for Christians. And I think he is the owner and master of all the people. He's everybody's God. So in this way, he refers to this God. He gives two examples. One is that of Zion Hill, and second is that of Silas Brook. These two places are situated near Jerusalem. And as Jerusalem is that part of Middle East where maximum number of prophets were born, Christ or Abraham or these all prophets were born there. So that is why the places were very dear to God. And he says, therefore, that it's the same muse, same God who loved, who told to the human being that these are the two places, Silas Brook and Zion Hill, which are a very good one, which are significant in case of the worshipping place which was erected there, that is oracle of God. And in this way, Milton has justified what kind of situation he wants to talk about. And just 1-2 lines more, dear students, because it's very difficult in the start to grasp. I will repeat something also. He says that I thence invoke thy aid to my adventurous song that with no middle flight intends to soar above the Aeonian mount while it pursues things unattempted yet in prose and rhyme. So this much we shall be completing today. In the ending lines of today's lecture, he is trying to let us know that he is seeking the God and his help. As God is great, his help can be great. He needs this type of help, not the small type of help, because he says that he is going to attempt an adventurous song, a song which has not been sung by him. Why does he say this? Which has not been sung according to him by anyone. Why does he say this? He says because normally people have sung the songs which are limited to one city, one nation, one country, or at the maximum it may be just the whole earth. But he says that he's going to talk a song, he's going to write a song which will start from earth, go to heaven, and from heaven come back to earth. In this way, the whole cycle will be complete. And it is the holiness, the sanctity, the significance of the song also, that it relates God, and then how God punished Satan, and how Satan is making attempts on human being, and how human beings are to go back to heaven. This is very significant. This is very holy. He says, therefore, this is a song which was not sung by anybody. It's a very great song. So that is why he needs the help of at least this much bigger muse, which is God. And so he is seeking the help of all that. So let us repeat, dear students, what we have done today. that we have started with the Paradise Lost, the very first page. Three important things we have studied in this page. One is the subject matter, that the fall of man, disobedience of man, again his efforts to go back to the heaven is the subject of this poem. Secondly, we have come to know that this Milton is going to talk about this story by taking the help of a muse. And that is epic tradition, to take the help of the muse. So side by side, we are also not only reading this story, but also we are trying to see how the epics are written and what kind of things are said there, what are the rules of the epic. The very first thing is to introduce the subject and then to get the help of the muse. Milton says that this muse should be explained. And he has explained all these indications, the explanation who this muse is going to be, that he gave information to Hazrat Moses, he came on Mount Sinai, and he loved those places which are around the whole state of Jerusalem. All these things go to point out very directly and very clearly to our Allah, our God. So that is why his muse is God. So up to this, dear students, digest this lecture. All these things will be talked about in next coming lectures on Milton's Paradise Lost 1 and 9. So if you have understood this thing, definitely it will help us further. So do not fail to read the poems at home and try to understand it from different sources as well. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you in my next lecture.